This week in Linux, we've got a bunch of new releases from the super popular open source Office suite LibreOffice to a couple releases from Mozilla, and one of the best open source video editors has a new release with Kdenlive. We're also going to take a look back at 7 years of Proton as we celebrate the current state of Linux gaming. Plus, CachyOS is currently on the rise as they just took the #1 spot on DistroWatch. We'll talk about what that means and what it doesn't. All of this and more on This Week in Linux, the weekly news show that keeps you up to date with what's going on in the Linux and open source world. And we are so close to 100,000 subscribers for the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We are so close, just a few hundred. I think we're at 99,600, something like that. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't so we can get that 100,000 subscriber mark. But for now, let's jump right into your source for Linux good news. This episode of Twill is sponsored by Sandfly Security. More on them later. The Document Foundation has released the latest version of LibreOffice with LibreOffice 25.8. And with this update, you may notice some things are much faster. Files in LibreOffice Writer and Calc are opening 30% faster. There's faster rendering for XLSX files, which is Excel files, with conditional formatting. There's memory management changes, making it perform better in virtual machines, remote desktops, and thin clients, as well as many more efforts for performance improvements. There's also now PDF 2.0 support with AES 256 encryption. Also, they have rearranged the export UI for PDFs. They've added a hybrid mode, and also they have made it where signed PDFs are now compatible with Adobe Reader. There's also a new welcome dialog that makes it easier for new users to set up LibreOffice with their preferred layout and themes, including between the standard toolbar, which is like the classic Microsoft Office, or the tab toolbar, which is similar to the ribbon style of the modern Microsoft Office. So that's really good because the old situation where you just had the classic style and you had to go in and activate the ribbon, a lot of people didn't know they could do that, and it just made LibreOffice look kind of old in some people's opinion. So having that as part of the setup process and the welcome dialog is a really good idea because it gives the users the information that they can have an old style if they want it or a modern style if they want it to. Quick Find now matches diacritics, which is really good for people who are non-English speakers because it makes it possible to find accented words. Toolbars can now be activated through the UI picker. SHA-384 with AES 192 encrypted files can now be opened. Auto filters can now be imported from Excel files, and also word hyphenation and spacing system has been overhauled in the LibreOffice Writer tool. You can now set the last line to the next page. There's a new auto redact dialog to redact images. You can reinstate changes in LibreOffice Writer. LibreOffice Calc adds a clear autofilter option to cell context menus, and many, many, many more, including Calc alone has 14 new functions. Impress supports embedded fonts in PowerPoint files now, and so much more. Of course, there's also bug fixes and UI enhancements and all that sort of stuff. And this is a really nice update to a very good application suite. So if you are interested in an open source Office suite, then check out LibreOffice 25.8. It's been 7 years since Valve has introduced Proton, which revolutionized the gaming space on Linux. With next-level compatibility with Windows games built right into Steam, and also there's been a lot of effort to bring Proton out of Steam and like the UMU or the UMU project. And this is a lot of cool stuff that has been happening over these years, and no one expected the Linux gaming market to be as expansive as it is now because we have over 21,000 games you can play. Go back about 15 plus years or so, and there was a couple dozen games that you could play. So this is a huge turnaround. And with the introduction of Steam on Linux, we had a significant amount of games that were brought over to the platform, thousands in fact, but not as many as we have now. And Proton just escalated everything in a good way. So unless a game has some sort of very restrictive anti-cheat, like a kernel level anti-cheat, almost every game will work inside of just the click of a button. So some games might have some wonkiness that you have to address here and there, but even super old games will work on Linux. And in some cases, these games will work on Linux through to the Proton system without being able to work on Windows anymore. So that's pretty awesome. So thanks to Proton, we have the Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck has brought in a lot of people who are handheld gamers or casual gamers, and they're getting their experience of Linux, and a lot of people are switching over to Linux thanks to the Steam Deck, as well as many other reasons, but the Steam Deck is very, very helpful in that process. In fact, the market share of Linux on Steam is now breaking 3%, and for a period of time, for a very long period of time, it was only 1%. And this is really good news. Now, 3% doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a huge amount considering the amount of gamers, as well as it's a huge factor considering the amount of overall users who are not gamers. So that percentage that we've talked about in previous episodes is over 6% are Linux users. And when you have 6% of billions of people, that's a lot. So with that, I just want to say a huge thank you to Valve, the Wine team, the Codeweavers team, everybody who works on Proton, because it has been a fantastic thing to see the growth of Linux and the growth of Linux gaming. All the contributions y'all have made over the years has been such a huge boon to gaming on Linux. So thank you. CachyOS is an Arch-based distribution that comes with some optimized kernel stuff, some optimized packages, and they're focused mostly on performance enhancements, making it very fast and also a very popular choice for gamers. And recently, CachyOS has now become #1 on the DistroWatch ranking list, passing MX Linux and Linux Mint. Now, this is good for CachyOS. It's showing that there's a lot of trending upwards for the distribution, and that's awesome. But you might be wondering, what exactly does it mean to be #1 on the page hint ranking list for DistroWatch? Well, basically, not much. It means that essentially that it is popular, or it's building popularity. It's more of a trending list, and they should really get rid of that ranking word, because no one's ranking anything in this list. It's just how often people go to the page on DistroWatch for a particular distribution. So there's no ranking involved in here whatsoever. They should just call it a trending list, because in that case, it would be very accurate. But unfortunately, they call it a ranking list, which just kind of confuses some people when they first get started with Linux. And if you go to the page about statistics for DistroWatch, they actually say that directly. So it says, the DistroWatch page hit ranking statistics are a lighthearted way of measuring interest in Linux distributions and other free operating systems among the visitors of this website. They correlate neither to usage nor to quality and should not be used to measure the market share of a distribution. They simply show the number of times a distribution page on DistroWatch was accessed each day, nothing more. So yeah, this does not really mean that much in terms of that ranking list exactly, but it does matter because it shows that CachyOS is trending, and it also shows that distributions can come out of nowhere and start building momentum pretty quickly. Because CachyOS, I first covered the distribution on this show back in, I think, October of 2024 was the first time. And since then, it's been growing more and more. I'm not saying that this show is the reason why people are checking it out, but if you're interested, maybe you should check it out. I'll have links in the show notes, of course. But also, I just wanted to point out that this is really good news, because it does show that just because a distribution is new doesn't mean it can't build momentum. So this is a fantastic example of that. Now, DistroWatch, please change the title of that list to trending list and not ranking, because it's not a ranking. You're not ranking anything. You're just showing the traction of a distribution. So it's more of the trending aspects of it. So, maybe change it to trending or something along the lines that doesn't necessarily make people think that the #1 on that list is the #1 distro or the best distro or whatever, because people have been confused by that for a very long time. And it'd be great if you just adjusted the phrasing there to make it a little bit more clear about what that list really does. As Linux users, we know what's up. Security is non-negotiable, but with threats evolving faster than ever, your security tools need to keep pace without dragging your system down. Traditional agents, they slow you down, create stability risks. I mean, it's time for a smarter approach. And that's why This Week in Linux is proud to be sponsored by Sandfly Security, the agentless security platform designed for Linux. Sandfly doesn't just detect and respond. It transforms security with SSH key tracking, password auditing, and drift detection, covering threats from every angle. Whether your systems are in the cloud, on-premises, or in embedded devices, Sandfly ensures they're all secure without the headaches of agent-based solutions. And if your company is interested in transforming your security strategy, then check out Sandfly's offers for free trials to show off what it can do for your business. Just visit thisweekinlinux.com/Sandfly to learn more. And also listen to what Timothy Lisko, the deputy CISO at DigitalOcean, has to say. He says, Sandfly is one of the most exciting pieces of security tech I've seen recently. We're excited to not only be a customer, but also offer an integrated solution to our customers through DigitalOcean Marketplace. This technology addresses Linux security in a really novel and compelling way. So experience security that's not just effective, but gives you peace of mind. No agents, no downtime, just cutting-edge protection. Dive into the future of Linux security at thisweekinlinux.com/Sandfly. That's thisweekinlinux.com/SANDFLY. And if you're fascinated by cybersecurity as much as I am, then go check out the interviews we had with the CEO of Sandfly on Destination Linux. Craig has some awesome stories about how he got into Linux, how he got into security, and so much more. DestinationLinux.net/409 for that interview. And also, Craig has been joining us for this new segment of Sandfly Security Scoop. And we have the first episode of that on Destination Linux 429. So go to DestinationLinux.net/429 to check that out, where he explains the stealthy BPF backdoor that evades firewalls and so much more stuff. Plus, if you want to save some money on the Home Edition, you can actually use the discount code DESTINATION and get 50% off the Home Lab Edition. So again, go to thisweekinlinux.com/Sandfly. Check out the awesome folks at Sandfly Security. Mozilla has announced the latest release of the Firefox web browser with Firefox 142. There are some big changes coming to the new tab page. Article recommendations in the United States are now grouped into sections such as sports, food, and more. This makes the stories more organized, and you can now follow topics that you're specifically interested in on your new tab page. You can also block the ones that you don't care about, or just block all of them if you don't want any of them, because that's not really what... Actually, in a way, it's better than what other browsers are doing, because even if you don't want these kinds of stories that are listed on your new tip, at least there's not like giant ads that some browsers are doing. So, you got to balance, I guess. There are also progressively rolling out these new link previews. These link previews are where you long press a link and it shows a preview, and you can also right click and choose it to show a preview, which can then also, if you want to, include AI-generated points that are processed on your device. So that part is important. If you're going to have those kind of things, I would want it local. So at least there's that. That's good. The ETP strict mode now has an exception list to fix broken site features caused by tracker blocking. This lets you split exceptions into baseline and convenience that let you fix some compatibility with sites without having to cause any privacy problems. You can now also focus on just one tab in a group without uncollapsing the entire group, keeping the tab bar less cluttered. Also, the Firefox extension system now supports WLLAMA inside of extensions, allowing developers to integrate local open source language models or large language models directly into their add-ons. So this could be really cool depending on the features that could be added. It also could be somewhat annoying to some people. So I guess the jury's still out on that particular topic, but I feel like there's some potential to get some really cool stuff in here as well. Now, for those who might not be that interested in Mozilla's Firefox, Mozilla has also dropped the latest version of the Thunderbird email client with Thunderbird 142. For those who are not familiar, Mozilla does have involvement with Thunderbird, but it's also more of an independent organization at the same time. So it's more of like they're in collaboration. So it is Mozilla, but also kind of not. So it's a little complicated. We could talk about that in a different video for those who are interested, but that's just the gist of it. But anyway, Thunderbird 142 is out, and it is a relatively small update with only a few changes. like the visual signatures can now be added to PDF attachments. Copy message link and copy news link buttons have been added to the More Actions header pane. And also you can now copy folders with mail server accounts and local folders. You can also now reset the order of folders in the folder pane, and there's a ton of bug fixes as you would expect. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about is not necessarily the new version, but the updates that we received about the Thunderbird Pro or Thundermail service. In a previous episode of This Week in Linux, we covered Thunderbird Pro back in April, which includes an email service, an appointment service, and an encrypted file sharing tool called Send. This week, they published some updates on the progress for these services. Thundermail development has been moving forward, and it will support IMAP, SMTP, and JMAP out of the box, meaning it will work with Thunderbird and most other email clients. You can also bring your own domain if you have that, or get a Thundermail or a tb.pro email address. Servers for Thundermail will be hosted in Germany, with more countries to follow in the future. Thunderbird Appointments was originally a standalone web app, but now it can be tightly integrated into the Thunderbird's app compose window. So there's going to be some benefits for those who want to have the more cohesive approach. This allows users to insert scheduling links without having to leave the email composer. And in the future, this feature will support multiple meeting types like Zoom, phone meetings, and in-person coffee chats, for example. They're also working on open standards to add group scheduling, and these open standards will allow current calendar protocols to eventually support this feature. Now, Thunderbird Send is an encrypted file sharing tool that is built on Thunderbird's file link feature. It allows for file transfer directly from Thunderbird, bypassing platforms like Google Drive or Dropbox or that sort of stuff. Pro users get 500 gigabytes of storage to start with no file size limits, beyond the 500 gigs. There's also a planned support for clunked uploads and encryption. It will be managed through a system add-on to avoid locking things behind Thunderbird's release cycles and that sort of stuff. And also, all of these tools are going to be self-hostable. So if you want to run them on your own servers, you will be able to do that, which is awesome. They're also talking about adding some more features. So in the future, they are discussing that maybe we would have a markdown-based notes tool, an assist feature leveraging AI, and more. So this looks to be a very promising service, and I am happy to see that there's been so much progress so far. Kodi is a really cool media player. It's also an entertainment center, not just video player. It does a lot of sort of stuff you can do, have like albums and playlists and catalogs and all sorts of stuff, even connect to streaming services in some cases. There's a lot of cool stuff that Kodi can do. But typically, if you wanted to use it, you'd have to install the application and run it on your laptop. But what if you wanted to put it on, let's say, a Raspberry Pi or some other kind of device and create your own set-top box? Well, you would need an operating system that was built to run Kodi. And that's what LibreELEC is. LibreELEC is just enough OS for Kodi. So the latest release of LibreELEC is 12.2. We're going to talk about that, and it comes with Kodi 21.2 as part of it. So LibreELEC is a Linux distribution that boots directly into Kodi, which makes it great for turning an old computer or a Raspberry Pi into a media box. And the latest version ships with Kodi 21.2, but with some additional improvements backported since there is no 21.3 release planned. Unfortunately, if you have an older NVIDIA card, they have decided to drop support for the legacy 340 drivers due to them no longer compiling on the latest version of Xorg. They did look into Nuvo, but Nuvo has too many issues with video playback, so they decided to just drop support. So if you're looking to run Kodi as a standalone process on a set-top box kind of situation, then check out LibreELEC. It works very nice. Kodi is a really good media player, media center, entertainment center, all sorts of stuff. It's a very cool application, but typically you have to download it on your own laptop or your own desktop and then run it that way. But wouldn't it be great to have an operating system that could run Kodi for you? I know that sounds like a double take, because I said that in the previous topic about LibreELEC, but there's also OSMC, or the Open Source Media Center, which is an OS similar to LibreELEC, which is built to run Kodi. So actually, it's a little bit more than that, because it has its own custom interface for Kodi, and also has its own app store. Or maybe you don't have an old computer to put it on, or a spare Raspberry Pi or something like that. Maybe you'd like to get your dedicated media box for OSMC. Well, they actually have one you can buy called the Vero 5. Now, I'm not sure if that's actually how you're supposed to pronounce it, but that's what we're going to go with. And the latest release of OSMC, they have an August 2025 update. And in that update, they say that they have added Dolby Vision support for the Vero 5. They also fixed a ton of bugs, including fixing freezes on Vero devices, fixing a bug preventing NTP time daemon working properly, and others. They also improved the VNC server on Vero devices, and they added dynamic metadata with AV1 on Vero 5, and much more stuff. This is actually also going to be the final update for the Vero 4K and 4K Plus devices. The last update for these devices was supposed to be the final, but there were some bugs, so they decided to fix those and ship out a new update. But if you wanted to get a new device, you could get the Vero 5. And there. So if you're interested in checking out a Just Enough OS for Kodi, you can check out LibreELEC and also OSMC, and even get a dedicated box for it. Recently, KDE Gears 25.08 was released, and we covered it here on the show, but they didn't mention Kdenlive. I'm not sure why they didn't include Kdenlive, because there's a lot of cool stuff in this latest version of Kdenlive 25.08, so I wanted to cover it on the show. There's over 300 commits, and they fixed a bunch of stuff, and they state that this update has no major new shiny features, but it has a ton of bug fixes and polished. Although they have done some pretty good stuff, as in like the mixer has been redesigned to be clearer. Also some code refactoring happened and some code cleanup. So it depends on what they mean by major shiny new features, because there's some cool stuff in here. Like, for example, the titler now has improved SVG support and image support with the ability to move and resize items, and many other fixes and improvements. Even, for example, like DaVinci Resolve doesn't support SVG very well. And I think there's a way to kind of manipulate it to work, but by default, it doesn't support SVG. So having the titler be able to support SVG inside of Kdenlive is very cool. There's a new timecode widget included with drag to seek functionality. Scopes now use the system palettes for better theme integration, and markers and guides got an overhaul to improve project organization. Also, SVT AV1 replaces the old AV1 profile. There's a new hardware decoding option to prepare for future hardware accelerated features, and many more, such as you can now disable sleep when rendering or playing videos, which is really nice, especially with the thing. So like if you have your system built to go to sleep after a certain amount of time, but the rendering would take longer than that period of time, system just go to sleep. And now it has the ability to disable that functionality, which is really good because you definitely want your render to render. So there's all this and many more enhancements and bug fixes and that sort of stuff. So if you'd like to learn more, I'll have the full changelog linked in the show notes. If somehow your wallet wasn't completely emptied from the Steam Summer Sale, I have some good news for you, because the Humble Store is now having their own Summer Sale. Some of the best deals right now are BioShock Remastered for $5, Sniper Ghost Warrior Trilogy is available for $4, Celeste is available for $5, Mud Runner is available for $4, Slime Rancher for $5, many more. So if you want to check out, I'll have links in the show notes. But also, additionally, the Warner Brothers bundle we covered in a previous episode has a few days left. So if you're watching this episode in time, then it's a great bundle to check out. And there's also an Uncharted Realms bundle that gives you a lot of games for just $12. It gives you Fort Solis, The Eternal Cylinder, Journey to the Savage Planet, The Forgotten City, and 5 other games. And of course, if you want to help out this show and you want to help support the show, you can use the affiliate links that is in the description, so that when you go to get anything from the Humble Bundle store, you'll get a little tiny kickback for this show to help it out. So I would very much appreciate that. If you do plan to go check out any of the games or check out the summer sale, then be sure to use that link to help out the show. Recently, we covered some malware in the AUR, with malicious AUR packages targeting Firefox or forks of Firefox like LibreWolf and Zen and that sort of stuff. Well, these attacks have not stopped, unfortunately. 10 days after the first attack, there were new malicious packages targeting Google Chrome. And this is why you always should be reading package build data when you're installing from the AUR. So the AUR is really cool. It makes it really easy to get certain packages really easily accessible. So I understand why people want to use the AUR, but it also is recommended not to, and to only use it if you absolutely have to. So there is that part. But if you're also new to Linux, I just like to take this opportunity to point out that Arch Linux, while being really cool, is not meant for everyone. They specifically only target competent Linux users, and I put air quotes on competent Linux user. They specifically want experienced users. They don't really want beginners. So if you're using the Arch system or using something based on Arch, it's important to know that the AUR is not really meant for those kind of users. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't use these types of things if you want to enjoy whatever distro you want to use, but it's just to keep in mind that the AUR is not really vetted. It's not really meant to be. It's more of like a community maintained thing. But at the same time, there's other things that the AUR people are dealing with, because for the last week, the AUR has been under a DDoS attack, making the site difficult to reach. These DDoS attacks aren't a security threat necessarily for people who are running Arch, but it can disrupt the usage of the AUR and connecting to it to get packages and that sort of thing. So there's something to note there. But there are some rumors that Cloudflare reached out to help mitigate the attack. We don't know if it's been confirmed that Arch had accepted the offer or not, or if this is even something that's actually offered. But if it is, good on Cloudflare, but we'll have to see what happens there. So no, you're not going to have any issues with installing packages or any sort of things like that, but it will be slightly annoying to, getting the download delay and that sort of stuff. You can use some mirrors. There's a tool called Reflector that helps you find mirrors that are closer to you, and that might be an option. And there's also a GitHub repo and some other things that's kind of like a mirror of the AUR that's put onto GitHub. So you can check that out if you want to. So if you want to read more about this news, you can check out the Phosphorus article about this. But I just wanted to quickly note this because it's important for users who are interested in Arch but not really familiar with it. Like, I don't think that Arch is a beginner-friendly distribution, so if you're new to Linux, I would highly recommend avoiding it. But if you want to try it out anyway, that's up to you. And if you are an Arch user, then be sure to watch out for any kind of weird packages that might be happening. And to everybody who is DDoSing the AUR or DDoSing Arch in general, stop being lame. It's very lame. Stop it. Thanks for watching this episode of This Week in Linux. If you like what I do here on this show and want to be kept up to date with what's going on in the Linux and open source world, then be sure to subscribe. And of course, remember to like that smash button. If you'd like to support the show and the Tux Digital Network, then consider becoming a patron by going to tuxdigital.com/membership. Where you can get a bunch of cool perks like access to the patron-only section of our Discord server and much, much more. You can also support the show by ordering the Linux Everywhere t-shirt or the This Week in Linux shirt that I'm wearing right now, or go to get anything else. We have like hats and mugs and hoodies and stickers and more at tuxdigital.com/store. I'll see you next time for another episode of your source for Linux news. Thanks again for watching. I'm Michael Tunnell. I hope you're doing swell. Be sure to ring that notification bell, and until next time, I bid you farewell.